Highland Beach Town Commission meeting. Today is Tuesday, October 7th, and it is now 1:30. We'd like to call the meeting to order. If we could have the roll call, please.
Commissioner Chinovsky,
Present.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Present.
Commissioner Peters,
Present.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Present.
Mayor Moore,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie,
Present.
and Town Attorney Rubin.
Present.
If we could all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If none, if we could have a motion to approve.
Yes, motion to approve the agenda.
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to presentations and proclamations. Resolution number 2025-026, a resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, ratifying the selection, appointments, and term of office of members of the Board of Adjustment and Appeals and providing for an effective date. And we have a candidate, Barry Donaldson, who is volunteering for the position. If you'd like to come to the podium, state your name and your address, and say a couple of comments.
Mayor, members of the commission, Barry Donaldson. I reside at 3700 South Ocean Boulevard. Pleased to be back with you here again today for your consideration of my application. As I mentioned, I had the privilege of serving on the Rules and Appeals a number of years ago. It had its challenges. It was a very interesting board to sit on. And I hope I'll have the opportunity to sit and join the other members.
Thank you. And we'll go through each commissioner with
I
questions.
just met Barry for the first time, but I have been reading all about him and I was very, very impressed. And thank you for volunteering and putting yourself in this position. We hope you'll do the right thing and get elected.
Thank you.
Well, I certainly second that. I was so impressed with your background and mostly, I mean, professionally, of course, but the fact that over the many years that you've been here, that you've always come forward to sit on the commission, on various committees, and it's admirable. Really, the breadth and scope of your knowledge that you're going to bring to the committee is great, the commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Barry, I like the third that thank you for all your commissions that you're on and even filling in as a commissioner for the town. I appreciate that and your volunteering. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I fourth that? Thanks, Barry. Barry's done a terrific job in everything he's done, and thank you for everything from this town signing to your position on the commission. So thank you, and thanks for coming to this appointment.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, I also support your appointment as well. And a huge thank you for all your contributions to the town. And as the vice mayor had mentioned, the town sign, I will always bring up the town sign and your contribution to the design and winning the design contest and how beautiful it turned out. And I think how fitting it is for our community. Yeah, thank you. And sounds like we all support the appointment. So if we could have a motion, please.
Yes, I move to adopt resolution number 2025-026.
I second that.
Okay. Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Chinovsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Peters,
Yes.
and Mayor Moore.
Yes,
Motion
congratulations and thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you,
Appreciate it.
Barry.
I apologize for not being able to stick around for the comprehensive plan review. I have another appointment, unfortunately, but I wish you good luck on your deliberations on that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Moving on to item B, State of Education Report by School Board Member Erica Whitfield, District 4, School District of Palm Beach County. She, oh, just realized she didn't, well, I guess when she arrives, we'll have her interject. So, moving on to item C, Domestic Violence Awareness Month Proclamation. We have a proclamation here declaring the month of October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Whereas domestic violence impacts millions of people each year and continues to be a major social crisis and healthcare concern in our country, state, and county. Whereas regardless of race, age, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, socioeconomic status, or citizenship, victims receive the empathy and compassion they need to heal and equitably access equitable access to medical and legal services, counseling, safe housing, supportive services, and those who choose to cause harm should be held accountable for their actions and provided opportunities for rehabilitation. Whereas the town of Highland Beach recognizes the vital importance of reducing domestic violence through prevention and education, whereas Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse Incorporated, AVDA, facilitates prevention programming in line with the CDC's recommendations to prevent domestic violence. And whereas the social changes needed to prevent domestic violence are created through education, community engagement, accountability, and institutional change throughout communities. And whereas the Palm Beach County Coordinated Community Response Team builds key partnerships among justice agencies, health providers, allied professionals, domestic violence centers, and victim services to assist victims and their families and to hold offenders accountable. And whereas in supporting victims of domestic violence, the town of Highland Beach joins local programs, state coalitions, and national organizations committed to sending a clear message that domestic violence will not be tolerated. Whereas the town of Highland Beach recognizes the vital importance of designating a time devoted to increasing the general public's awareness to hold forth a vision of a community free from domestic violence. Now I, Natasha Moore, Mayor of the town of Highland Beach, on behalf of the Town Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'd like to welcome to the podium Pam O'Brien.
Thank you so much, Mayor Moore and members of the commission. We greatly appreciate your support in declaring the month of October a Domestic Violence Awareness Month, in line with that being the national month as well. So we really appreciate your support because so many people need our services. And we are very aware that there's a critical need in our community. That is why I brought Matt with me today. He heads up all of our violence prevention programming. And through that, each year we reach about 11,000 people in this county. We also want to take this moment to express our deep gratitude for Chief Hartman and the police. Chief serves on our board of directors and is one of our vice chairs of the board. And his leadership among the other chiefs has been just an invaluable service to us as we work so closely with law enforcement. So thank you very much. And thank you, Chief. We appreciate you.
Thank you for all you do. And here's the, thank you very much. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, she's here. Oh, she arrived. Oh, okay,
Oh, here we
excellent,
go.
excellent. Just going back to item B, State of Education Report by School Board Member Erica Whitfield. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I apologize for my tardiness. Thank you, commissioners, for having me here as well. It's a pleasure to always come and just speak before you all. I'm just going to really briefly go over a couple of updates from your Palm Beach County school system and then be available for any questions that you all might have. My name is Erica Whitfield. I have served almost 11 years on the Palm Beach County School Board and represented Highland Beach during that time. It's been a pleasure to do so. I am here really to talk a little bit about what's going on in your schools. So the biggest news that you may have seen in the last month or 2 months has been the number of students coming to our school system. We are very proud currently to be an A-rated school system, and that's something that we've been excited about for a couple of years. We had a little blip for a moment there. We went down to a B, but we're back up to an A, and everything is going very well. So we're very happy about that. But one of the big news items that has come out of the school district has been this year we anticipated a certain number of students for showing up, and about 5,000 12,516 students did not make it to school this year. So what we do as a school system is we go and check on all those students to find out where they are. We want to make sure people are coming to school, that they know it's a requirement to come to school. And if they're not coming to our schools, what school are they going to? So we make sure that they are attending some sort of education. Some people have moved out of the area. That is definitely the case. We have had the impact from the voucher program. That's a big case. And then we are seeing a very large number of people who are just nervous to come to school. The concerns around immigration have been very real within our community, and we've seen that. And so understanding that that is an impact, we do everything we can to make families feel comfortable and welcome into our school system. Also providing them with opportunities for other education if they need it. So that's something that we have worked on being sure to do. Also, anybody who is willing to come back, we would really like to see them come. In October, we do the official FTE count, and that FTE goes off to the state. And then we make our money in our school system based on the funding that we receive. So that is a true impact to us of after all of the balancing of teachers and rotating who goes where, the funding follows the student, but also the teachers follow the student. So if a school is down, like Lake Worth High School is down 400 students, quite an impact. Students then move from that high school to places where or the teachers move from that high school and they'll move to a place where there's teachers needed. So that's how we adjust. So we were able to just have a hiring freeze, which is what you would do in any situation here, and not hire any new people and just readjust as needed. So that's what we've done. We're down still about another $25 million from where we expected, unfortunately. And that is definitely having an impact, but because we are such a large system and because we do have reserves and we have been very fiscally sound, we have been able to absorb this impact by and large. There's some adjusting being done, but that's something that we've been able to handle. But it is something that I think that as a community you should keep an eye on going forward, because we want to make sure that our schools remain strong. In Broward and Miami-Dade, same trends have been happening. You're seeing people not coming into their public schools for a variety of similar reasons. It's actually happening throughout all the urban districts in Florida. So we're watching all those districts and how they handle it as well. So we're doing better than most. We're very happy about that. But there's definitely a trend that we're seeing throughout the county. This is the first time Palm Beach County has been impacted. So as we go forward, we see this as an opportunity for the students that we can is to provide better service, to really try to improve our customer service within the school system. So people feel that they are welcome into our schools, but also that they're getting the value for what they're asking for. So the great education that we know is possible. One of the things that's really happened in the neighbors just to your west in Delray Beach, we've had some really great successes within our schools there these past couple of years that I want to share. We just got our grades in not that long ago, and Pine Grove Elementary, that you all may know, very close to downtown Delray Beach, has actually gone up to be an A-rated school. And so we're very, very proud of that. They got a new school building recently, so that probably improved it a little bit. But I wanted to share with you all how something like that happens extremely briefly. In the state of Florida, the grading is two components. One is proficiency, so how well do the students do on the test? And the second part is something called learning gains. So learning gains means if you have a student who is potentially not proficient, but you move them to another grade level, so we do a 5-point scale. So say they're a level 1 when they come into us, but then during that year, they become a level 2 student. So based on the testing, the school would actually get points based on that for a learning gain. So 50% is proficiency, 50% is learning gains. If you look at the proficiency at a school like Pine Grove, you'll see that their proficiency is still in the 35 percentile range. However, the students there have grown so much in their academic journey that the school's learning gains are so high that it balances out that they were able to get an A rating. So it's a very amazing feat for the teachers to have done something like this in that school. So we're very proud of those schools. And I just want to explain that to you in case you're hearing about the grading system within our schools. So that's happened at many schools in the county. That is just one local example, but we're very proud to see our teachers getting those students to a higher level. And really, it's a sign of a great school when you can bring in a student who's below level and get them hopefully to grade level. So the other thing I wanted to mention is really more important to you all here. I'm sure you're very interested in ways that you can help the school system in general. So on November 5th, we will be having a workshop within the school board. And that workshop is going to be to talk about how we can do a better job providing the employees that everyone wants in their communities. So the businesses in our community are looking to hire. We want to have students that hopefully meet the needs of what you're looking for in your employees. So we have choice programs for the students in the school system. We have technology programs, we have vocational programs, and all of those programs we're looking at holistically to see what kind of programming we need within our system to be able to provide the employees that are perfect for the state of Florida. And that's what we're working to do. So I have been asking all of my communities, if anyone in your community is interested in partnering with the school district so that we can make sure that we're creating the people for the jobs that you have. Please call me, let me know. That workshop will be on November 5th. I've had a few people talking to me about what they're looking to see from their students when they come out of the system. And so we have all levels. We are working to get, your highest academic students, but also people who want to work in trades and make sure that we're providing those opportunities. And then through this workshop, we're going to be looking at how do we streamline it so that if a student starts in a program, there will be continuous programs throughout the school for them to be able to continue all the way to the end. For instance, one of my schools has a construction academy, but it takes 6 years to get a certification in construction in the specific way that we're trying to do it. 4 years is not enough time in a high school, so we really need to move that program into middle school as well, so that you get the first 2 years in middle school, and then they finish up the 4 years in high school. And when they leave after 6 years in this program, they're coming out with a certification that is going to translate into a job for them, if that makes sense. So with that, I'll just stop there and see if you guys have any questions. That generally gives you some ideas of what's going on in the school district, but I am open to absolutely anything that you all have for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I do. Thank you for being here. My question is, with the atmosphere in the country right now, big focus on artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And you mentioned technology, and I understand that right now there's going to be more focus on specialized areas. How are you addressing that right now?
So we do have a technology, like it's called safe technology programming within our curriculum so that the students are all learning about how to be safer with technology. We've added an AI component to that, so that way they can understand a little bit more about what their interactions with AI are and how they can be more like just safer students around it. So it's a little bit of protection to try to talk to them about it. We've also created something called, we've actually been one of the biggest adopters of this in the country, something called Conmigo. Conmigo is an AI that will help you with your homework, and it is in what they call a protected garden, so that if you ask a question to the Conmigo AI, it will only stay within the realm of what we all consider acceptable for students. So they can't ask questions that go outside of that. So it's made for children. So we have one of those. It's through the Khan Academy. If you know Khan Academy, it is an offshoot of that. So it's an experience for the children to have AI and the teachers to have AI that is protected. So the Conmigo will actually sit down and you can type in your homework question, and it will not just tell you the answer. It's going to prompt you to guide you through on any subject, anything that you're interested in. So that's one way that we're able to give them that experience without being in an unsafe environment. And then one of the things that I'm working towards is that we can hopefully put in an AI class specifically where students could take it to learn more about it and really be an entire piece of the curriculum. So we are working in little pieces of AI that have been incorporated into the curriculum. I think we need to make it an even larger part of this discussion that we're having on November 5th as we're deciding choice programs, when we're creating technology throughout the school district. And we have quite a few of them. We have a program at St. Aloysius that's a cybersecurity program. I think we need to be putting in like modules specific to
Are you
AI.
concerned about the reliance on AI?
Oh yeah, I think we're all concerned about it, but I'm hoping that we can, at least from an education standpoint, embrace the opportunities that are there, and really teach our children so that they don't go, the worst thing I think is that they just figure this out on their own without any guidance because the AI is there. So if we can have our teachers teaching around a curriculum of guidance and understanding and then hopefully protection, I think we can do a much better job. So
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
I had some questions with regard to the concern of having such a large, if in fact it is such a large reduction in attendance. You said over 5,000.
Mhm.
And is this in Palm Beach County alone or what area?
It's in
Or statewide?
it's statewide, in every urban district, you're seeing those numbers dropping.
So do you have handy any, or give us some idea, percentage wise, how many are going to homeschooling or is it transfers? I'm concerned not about those, but about the numbers and the fear factor. You mentioned they're afraid to go to school.
Yeah, so we're also seeing the same trend in charter schools, just so you know, it's very similar. Our trend is 3.4% of the population, and I think charters is 3.6, so very, very close in the percentage of numbers. I don't know how many have gone to homeschool as far as a number, but there is a section of students that have done that. I would say we're still doing better with homeschool than we were during the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had a lot of students going to homeschool. I would say it's less than that. As far as the vouchers, that is the program where you can take your funding and go to a private school. We are seeing a few private schools opening up here in Palm Beach County, but by and large, they have had wait lists and there's not a lot of space in private schools. So we're not seeing a huge shift over to them. I anticipate over time, you'll see more private schools open up within Palm Beach County. And so that's where the competition really comes in, what we are providing, how we are able to provide that education. But right now we're not seeing a huge number. I have gone and visited with some of my principals and asked them, we do ask that they go follow up on every single student because worst comes to worst, we don't want the child to be in a danger. So we want to make sure that they're okay. So we see that as our responsibility to follow up on the children. And if they've moved out of state, if we can get a forwarding phone number, if we can figure out where they went, are they in another option? Some parents are just choosing to keep them home. We do have truancy proceedings that do follow if they choose not to bring their kid to school. So we have been working with one of the judges here locally, Judge Kroll. If a parent is not bringing their child to school, we will follow up. And there could be potential legal actions that come in after that. We don't want it to get to that. They do a lot of work to try to make sure that they're encouraging a student to come in, and just that threat is usually enough. We haven't had to go through.
But other
that.
than truancy, I mean, the fear factor is concerning to me.
Very real. So I would say the majority is.
So what are they fearful of and what actions are the school board taking?
We are not taking any overt actions. We're
Mhm.
just doing our very best to be welcoming. We have not had any situations on our campuses of anyone coming in and coming to talk to our students while they're there on campus, or anybody trying to come in and take them as far as like an ICE raid or something like that has not happened on any campuses. So that's one of the fears that I try to dispel as much as possible, because that is a concern, but to me, has not happened yet. So if it does happen, obviously the community will know about it. But right now, schools have been a very safe place for every child to come. And so we work on trying to communicate that to everyone. But that is one of the fears, is that they're afraid if they go to school, they might not be able to, they might be picked up or not be able to come home. So that's been a concern of the communities that we're really working to hopefully mitigate as much as possible.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my only thing is I'd like to thank you for being on the school board. And I know as a parent growing up, I've been to many school board meetings and I've been very heated at times there. So I thank you. And I remember you speaking last year and you seem very dedicated and caring. So I just want to thank you on that. And where is the workshop on the 5th? Where is
It'll be
it?
at our school board.
At the school board?
Yep. It'll be November 5th. We do it usually around 2:00 in the afternoon. Haven't got the agenda for it, but generally it's around then. And I'm hoping that the community, a lot of times when I go speak to people, we talk about the businesses in our community. And I had the opportunity, I don't know if any of you were able to go, but when Economic Council did the trip last year to Dallas, we were able to go and look at how another community that's similar size to ours is working with their schools. And one of the things that I was so impressed about was how many businesses were truly engaged in their school system and the impact that that had on their economy. To be able to have people coming in and teaching the students the things that they wanted them to know and then employ them immediately after that. So with comparison to us, Dallas is about the same size as people, but they have twice as many businesses as we do, because Palm Beach County does not have as many businesses as a place like Dallas does, where it's also more affordable to live. We would like to get to that point as a school system to be able to have the engagement of the business community. And many times I'll speak to the business community and they wish that they had more of an engagement within the school system. So I think this is a good step for us to take to figure out what is it that the business community would like to see? How can we engage more businesses in Palm Beach County and then also within our school system so the students can be ready for whatever the jobs of the future are? Thank you.
Have you seen any changes in autism, the amount of students, lower, higher, stable?
So I would say, we do identify quite a bit, and autism, as they talk about, is a spectrum. So when you look at the spectrum of autism, there are people who are very severely autistic and they may be in a special classroom, but then there are also students who just need a little bit of help, a little bit extra assistance. And so we try to identify everyone that we can, not just with autism, with any developmental disabilities or delays or specialties, really just any differences in learning style. We try to identify everyone we can, because then we can give them the right services. So, even my daughter gets a little speech help. That's something that I was fortunate to have a teacher bring to my attention that I wouldn't have known had she not been in a preschool setting where they were looking into that. So I think it's really important to have that, because we do have services available. So we have so many opportunities, especially with the step up money that came with the vouchers. We can even get additional funds for people to make sure that they're getting, even in the private setting, you're getting a student that's getting additional support. Even in a homeschool setting, you're getting additional support. So there are all of these programs set up for us to be able to get that to happen. So I think you'll see there's a lot of people identified, but I don't know if it's an exploding number of cases as much as it is just really trying to make sure that everyone's getting the support that they need. And that's kind of where we said is, well, how can we best serve the students? Because we need them to be able to do well in school and overcome any difficulties that they may have. And some students you'll see after they get a little bit of services, they may not need services anymore. And then we'll be done with those services because the students have learned how to deal with whatever the issue is that they came in with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming again to speak with us. I really look forward to your presentation every year. I think Palm Beach County is doing a great job with the schools. I think I've told you before, I have 3 kids that have gone through. I still have 1 left who's a junior in Boca High, and I've told you how great the roster of classes that Boca High offers, and is much more robust than many of the other high schools. I've looked at like some of the Broward high schools and things like that. And Boca High, we're very fortunate to have the ACE diploma and all the advanced placement classes. And I really like what you're saying about the connection of the employers in the area to the high school students, and the emphasis on trades, because it does seem like we have a real shortfall with young people going into the trades, and college is not for everyone. And I think all those efforts going into making those connections for young people, like if that is a better fit for them, why get in debt or whatever it takes to get through college? The added expense for a family, which, it can be a burden. And if it's not a good fit, then, perhaps it's not the best use of funds and not the best use of time. So I think making the connections in the local industry of, what we actually need here, I think is, excellent. I think that's a great idea, and I would support you, continuing to do that. I guess one thing I personally see as one reason why some students are leaving the public system is like the top athletes are going to are being drawn to the private schools. So the private schools are just grabbing up the best athletes, and they have a lot to offer them.
Yeah.
And I think one thing, and your presentation is the first time I've heard this $25 million shortfall. I imagine that's probably going to be athletics and all the, maybe that'll come from extra I don't know. I don't know where it comes from, but I know Boca High, for one, has gone to kind of, drastic measures in trying to get donations for these programs. So I think that, might be another reason why we're losing some of those students, is because we don't have as much, the public system doesn't have as much money for the athletics. And so, and I don't know what the numbers are. I mean, I only know of, a handful of people, but.
Well, I'll give you one really quick comparison so you can understand the difference. But with the school district, we recently just got our funding allocation from the state. So we know how much we were going to get every year for our students. So we do all of this education for $9,000 a student. And if you look at the private school funds that they get, you're seeing some schools getting on the order of $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year per student. So the limitations are real. We do get quite a bit of benefit from economies of scale. So we're able to have maybe one of some position or 10 of some position that you wouldn't be able to put into a private school. That helps a lot with our ESE for our students with disabilities. We're able to provide, one thing I always laugh about is we have like one school psychiatrist that we pay for the entire school system, which we're able to do because we have such a huge system. So if somebody needs medication, we do have somebody that we can call, but you can't really do that at a private school because of the economy of scale. We're able to do it. Unfortunately, we do not have as much money as you would get from having a much larger, tuition bill for people to come in. So we do rely on our communities more. So fundraising is definitely something that happens, as well as we do go to you all for the referendum every year. We will be coming back again next November. It's on the agenda for tomorrow for the school board meeting to approve the language going forward for next November to ask for that millage to be re-upped. That has helped us a lot with teacher salaries. We are able to give additional funding to our teachers, and very difficult to live here in Palm Beach County. So we do try with those situations, but it is difficult, to be able to provide every single opportunity. And as you mentioned with the ACE program, my daughter's in an IB program, all of those high level classes are something that this community actually came out when the state was looking at cutting funds for, and came out and fought for to make sure that we continue to have it. I want to make sure that we continue that, because I think it is one of the best things we have going in our school system. How many students are getting college credits while still in high school that then transfer over to their college degrees free of charge for the parents. So it is it's a super benefit that we have within the school system, but all of these things can't go forward unless we have the support of the state and funding and the community.
Absolutely. Okay, what do you want to come up and ask a question? Sure.
Your timing is perfect, because there's been something that's bothering me now for a number of months, and maybe you can help me. I was trained as a educational advocate about 7 years ago in conjunction with the Guardian Ad Litem program, and everything's been fine. About 6 months ago, I started getting emails every several weeks from the school system saying they needed kids that needed educational advocates, literally every several weeks. And this is only over the last 6 months, and I've been an educational advocate for 7 years. What's going on? Why all of a sudden is there such a pressing need, number one? And number two, what are they doing about it? Thank you. Jack Halpern, 3420 South Ocean Boulevard, Highland Beach. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for doing that work. It's a wonderful thing. I'm not sure why they're asking you for so many more, but I'm happy to look into it for you and figure out if we're having a higher need for advocates. And to be able to do that kind of work is just really incredible. We're lucky to have people in the community who will take time out and be a part of a child's life in that way. So thank you for your service. If you would like, I'll give you my card and you can call me and text me, let me know. Mhm.
Years, 6 months ago.
Yeah. I also wonder if maybe somebody decided to just reach out more. There might have been a. Yeah, sometimes maybe somebody got a job that it was a new job. So, but yeah, I'm glad you're doing that work.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Any other questions from anybody? Anyone from? the-
Thank you, Highland Beach, for
Thank you
being so
very much.
engaging and interested in what's going
Yeah.
on in your schools. I really appreciate it. And we'll be back next year to talk about the millage. So thank you all
Thank
very much.
you.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
All right, you too. Moving on to public comments. Do we have any public comment? Joanne?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just to refresh everyone's
So-
memory, my name is Joanne Ryan, and I'm the permit holder through FWC for Highland Beach. And I felt it was important for me to come here today in person to thank you all for your continuing support. We've had a busy year. We have a very diverse group of volunteers. I am permitted to have 25 volunteers on the permit per FWC, and I am at full capacity right now with about 3 people waiting in the wings to train. This year, I was able to have a young college student that goes, her family lives here in Highland Beach, and she goes to Boston University at Amherst. She'll be graduating in the spring, and she'll be coming back as a fully vetted volunteer with us, but her school contacted me and I was able to get her some college credits for the time she spent with us. But I had an interesting interaction with her on the beach on her last day before she went back to school. We had a live hatch out of turtles, like 50 to 75 little turtles scurrying across the beach. And she was so excited. And she was writing a paper to go back to school with. And she said to me, she goes, "This summer has inspired me so much that when I graduate, I think I'm going to come back and live at home with my parents and continue my PhD at FAU and hopefully work in Dr. Weineken's lab at Gumbo Limbo." So that was one of the things. I have another young lady that just graduated from Florida Gulf Coast. She works for the Southern Florida Water Management District, and her fiance capture pythons at night after the morning she spends on the beach. They have a YouTube channel. It's called The Critter Cult, if you're brave enough to watch it. They are out there doing amazing work, and she's not 100 pounds soaking wet, and she's holding up these huge snakes sitting on eggs. So the stuff they're doing for the environment is just special, and I'm very happy to have her on my team. We have married couples that walk together, and I love it. And we have a married couple that bring their 2 little girls out there with them. And Bree happens to be here with me today. Bree has been, how many years have you been with us? Okay. Bree has taken a very proactive position with me on the permit. She is soon to be my new qualified assistant, and she is helping me move this little nonprofit forward with website, dedicated email, more fundraising. And my point here is young people are the future. And with Bree and I working together, when she's ready to take over, she could be the next person that takes over this permit and keeps it going. So with that, I just wanted to say the partnership that we have with the town of Highland Beach and the Natural Preservation Board has been very inspiring and very exciting. And when that envelope came in the mail, I was so grateful and so happy. It enables us to keep going with purchasing supplies and outreach tables and educational supplies. So thank you all very, very much. And please be on the lookout for your invitation to our annual recognition party, which will be right after the first of the year. I hope to see you there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your work very
Yeah.
much. The volunteers do a great job. Any other public comments? Jack?
Firstly, as an ex-Turtle handmaiden, thank you very much. Zone 1, 5 years. Jack Halpern again, 3420 South Ocean Boulevard. A proud 29-year veteran of Highland Beach and just moved into our third condominium north of here on July 17th after what seemed like an indefinite period of construction. My wife and I I'll cut it short because I'll watch the time. My wife and I are both avid recyclers. My wife's even more than I am. We buy bottles somewhere, she brings them home. We carry containers in our trunk. So we have someplace we have the extra food, we bring it back in the containers. And so we're putting them in the blue and yellow containers since July 17th at our condo. And about a week and a half ago, I'm out early in the morning and I watched the maintenance guy take the yellow and the blue and put them into one garbage pail. And I look at him and he said, yeah, that's what we do. The next day, I went over to a maintenance manager and I asked him about it. He said, oh yeah, the waste management takes that in their recycling trucks, the commingled waste. And they're not buying the waste anymore. It's all being burned. It's garbage. It's there. Coincidentally, and it was not planned, everything happens in fate. I belong to a dive club and we do a lot of environmental stuff. We had a visit to the solid waste plant yesterday and had a chance to go through and see all the recycled materials, which they're getting paid for. They're getting money for their cardboard, for their newspaper, for their aluminum, for their steel. The only thing they're not getting money for is the glass, and somebody's picking that up. The interesting fact I heard is Boca Raton got $1.5 million in kickback last year from their recycling. What is Highland Beach doing about it? If they can get $1.5 million, I would think we'd get something. My condo, I figured out during season, has 2.1 tons of garbage. I'd love to know what an average amount of recycling to come out of 2.1, and I'm not telling everybody in my condo, you got to recycle. That's your choice. You don't want to recycle, throw it down the chute. Just don't contaminate it. Whoever wants to do it, do it. It seems like people want to do it, but we didn't know that it's being commingled and done like that. I wanted to come here to the town. I'm not sure where I'm going to head on this, but those of you who know me know I will be heading someplace. Where the town's at that. I know we're not passing legislation about you will recycle. We're not going to do that, but we should be able to at least control our contractors like Waste Management, that their recycling trucks are picking up and not picking up commingled waste and such that it doesn't count, and that we're keeping track of these things. And look at it, so we're doing good for the environment, we're doing good for people, and at the same time, maybe we get cash back. And I don't know if we've been doing that as well. So I'm raising that as a thought for the town in terms of where we're at, and really in terms of what is Waste Management doing? I know I, for one, want to come down there, try and find out when they show up with the recycling trucks and take a look and see what they're doing and where they're at. I've been up to the transfer station up in Delray. Well, we had tons of cardboard and all kinds of other waste. So I got to know that place real well. And, they got a good recycling place in terms of where it can be done. So I asked for the town's help. This is something that maybe get some cash back and some extra money in the budget. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just give a quick summary. They do track it. We did about 400 tons last year and we get the thank you for recycling, but it doesn't cover the cost. So you get $0. So they keep track of it and that's run through our solid waste contract. If your building's commingling, it's supposed to be collected separated. I don't think we do commingled here unless they've changed the rules and neither of us know about it. So it should be separated. So if you commingle it, it'll get trashed. So keep it in the blue and yellow separate. I will, Pat and I will talk with Barbara at Waste Management, but we do recycle. We do get reports from the South SWA out west from the recycling. We did about 400 tons last year, if I recall correctly. Every quarter we get a letter with how much we recycled and not enough to make money. So we get a report from them every quarter on the volume. Probably like Boca volume, which is probably like 30 times the volume than we do, especially if we come to find out that it's commingled like that and it's being wasted, then we're not tracking much if we're just throwing away all our recycling. But we do get it from the county, gives us a report on how much volume comes in by community. So we'll see it with everybody. They do significantly more volume. I can't tell you the exact number, but Boca does do a larger volume. But we'll put something out. I got something. I'll work with Madison. We'll put out some recycling education, let people know, give you the latest updates. Maybe we'll put out the report now that we have our app. Hopefully everybody has it. And we'll put out that data so everybody knows, get it out to the condo groups too. Good reminder.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. Yeah, good one. Any other comment? No. Okay. Moving on to ordinances. Proposed ordinance. This is the first reading and also the first public hearing on the ordinance. And it's an ordinance of the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, amending the town's comprehensive plan to implement the town's evaluation and appraisal review, adding data and analysis section, modifying the goals, objectives, and policies of the future land use element, the transportation and mobility element, the housing element, the infrastructure elements, the coastal management conservation element, the recreation and open space element, the intergovernmental coordination element, capital improvements element, and the property rights element, modifying the map series in accordance with statutory requirements, providing for transmittal, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date.
So there's a few elements.
There's a few elements.
9 to be exact.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, Ingrid Allen, Town Planner. I did want to start off just by stating that these proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan was routed to the commission on September 26th. We wanted to be sure you had ample time to review it, given it's quite voluminous in nature. On page 15 of your packets, I provided you a little bit of background on the amendment, sort of a how do we get here type situation. So I'll briefly go over that. Florida statute does state that at least once every 7 years, each local government has to evaluate its comprehensive plan to reflect changes that may be in the state requirements or even changes in local conditions that can also trigger an amendment. Based on preliminary meetings that we had with our town consultant, Inspire, the town made the determination that we will need amendments to the comprehensive plan. Back on December 19th, the town submitted a letter to the State Land Planning Agency, letting them know that we were going to indeed move forward with amendments to the comprehensive plan. Actually, the Florida statute requires that each municipality notify the State Land Planning Agency, again, of your intentions, whether you're going to amend the comprehensive plan or not within that 7-year period. So we have Inspire here today. They're our planning consultant. They prepared the proposed amendments to the comprehensive plan, which are based on the evaluation and appraisal review that they conducted as well. And staff, we've been working with Inspire on this for 6 months now. The consultant did have a kickoff meeting with town department heads on December 9th of 2024. This has been quite a bit of a collaborative effort with several town departments. And on page 15, I provide you those 9 elements, right? We have over 200 goals, objectives, and policies. And as a result of this evaluation and appraisal review, there is a new proposed data and analysis section of the comprehensive plan. Our comprehensive plan right now has no data and analysis section. So that's newly proposed. There's also some corresponding maps that go along with the data and analysis. And there are changes to the goals, objectives, and policies that are currently in the plan, in the comprehensive plan, and some changes to the future land use map series. And Inspire will go over some of those details with you in just a moment. On June 17th of 2025, the commission, if you recall, you all did a preliminary sort of an intro or conceptual review of these amendments. Mm-hmm. And the motion that you made was to move the amendments to the planning board for their review. On July 10th and on August 14th, the planning board considered the amendments. And on August 14th, they did go ahead and make some recommendations, which are provided on pages 16 through 18 in your packets. So just want to make sure it's clear to the commission. On those pages, you'll see several policies that were pulled from the goals, objectives, and policies. The goals, objectives, and policies in their entirety start on page 60. So the planning board's recommendations are the bolded, right? Double underline or double strike through. That's what the planning board's recommendations are. Obviously, the underline is additions they would like to see. Strike throughs are what the deletions they would like to see. And any other single underline or single strike through, those are the amendments proposed by Inspire as part of their evaluation appraisal review.
And Ingrid, could
Yeah.
I, for just
Yeah.
with that, the ones that are identified by the planning board are not incorporated within the policies and goals yet.
Correct. So
Okay.
on page 60 of your packets, those are the goals, objectives, and policies. We did not incorporate the recommendations because again, the planning board is a recommending board. So if you all decide to move forward with those amendments, then eventually, they'll be added into the goals, objectives, and policies, right? So these type of amendments, they go through a two-phase process. There's a transmittal phase and an adoption phase. So obviously today is the transmittal. So if you all approve the amendments, they will be transmitted to the state land planning agency and other state agencies that review these types of amendments. The state land planning agency will then provide an ORC report, which is an objections, recommendations, and comments report. They will provide that within 60 days of the day that they receive the amendments. And when we get the ORC report, staff along with our planning consultant will address that ORC report. And then the amendment will come back to you, part of the second phase, which is the adoption phase. There'll be an adoption hearing. That date will be determined at a future time. And so with that said, I wanted to go ahead and introduce Inspire. Excuse me, we do have Chris Dougherty. He's Inspire's principal planner. And we also have Emily Aguilera. She is the planner, and she's also the project manager for the evaluation, appraisal, review, and the corresponding amendments. So I'll go ahead and give them the floor.
Good morning. We're just gonna test the Wi-Fi. I can use my hotspot. Yeah. Now. Right? I was logged in. Okay. Perfect. Sorry about it. No. Yeah. Apologies for the error. Thank you, Ingrid. Good morning. Good morning, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. My name is Emily Guerrero, and I am a planner and the project manager for this project today. With me is Chris Dougherty, principal in charge of our firm. So over the past several months, we've had the opportunity to work with the town, Ingrid, the town manager, and staff to update the comprehensive plan. Just as a brief introduction, Inspire Placemaking Collective, also known as Inspire, was founded in 2022 with over 30 professionals who specialize in landscape architecture and planning services. So the purpose of today's hearing is to present the draft amendments for your approval. We will begin with a brief overview to explain why the comprehensive plan is being updated and walk you through the amendment process. Then we will summarize the key changes as well as some that were recommended during the planning board meeting and outline the remaining steps through adoption. So to provide you some more background, on December 19th of 2024, staff had notified the Florida Department of Commerce, which is the state land planning agency, that amendments to the town's comprehensive plan were due. This last update was completed back in 2018. So these amendments are part of the evaluation and appraisal review, which state law requires every 7 years. And it's just to make sure that it remains consistent with Florida statutes and any updates that are needed. So the town is required to transmit these amendments within 1 year of this notification. The amendments presented today extend the plan through the 2045 planning horizon. It's important to note, however, that in 2023, the statutes were updated to require both a 10-year and 20-year planning period to address growth through the horizon. The amendment process involves 3 overarching steps, the first being data and analysis, the second, the goals, objectives, and policies, and third, required public hearings. So the process began with us gathering data that was provided by the city, and we reviewed each plan element to ensure that the information is current. Next, we created this legislative matrix to identify the necessary revisions to the last update. And then based on this and with staff conversations, we revised the goals, objectives, and policies for each element. We also updated the map series, which is included in your packet. And we're here today as part of one of the required public hearings, which is the transmittal. This slide over here lists the 9 elements of the comprehensive plan, being future land use, transportation, housing, infrastructure, coastal management and conservation, recreation, open space, intergovernmental coordination, capital improvements, and property rights. The main updates to the plans and references, as well as supporting information, include adjusting the planning horizon from 2025 to 2045. We also any outdated statutory and regulatory references were also updated. For example, references to the Department of Community Affairs was updated to the Florida Department of Commerce, as well as any language that had Rules 9J Florida Administrative Code was updated to Chapter 163. We also removed any completed projects or policies that are now addressed in the Land Development Code to help streamline the document. New plans were also incorporated, such as the 10-year water supply work plan, the beach restoration feasibility study, and the Coastal Resilient Partnerships Climate Change Vulnerability Assessment. We also updated data such as the potable water flow, and along with any edits to improve just the clarity and consistency of the text. As mentioned, our team also updated the map series using the most current available data, and this includes updates to the future land use, the existing land use, and just maps showing current and projected levels of service, amongst others. This slide highlights several recent statutory requirements and preemptions that have been incorporated into the updated plan. So first, the plan, we understand that the town only has sanitary sewer, but we incorporated language to ensure that all future development connects to sanitary sewer, and this aligns with the state's priorities for long-term infrastructure resilience. This update also adds another policy stating that the town shall allow floating solar facilities on stormwater treatment ponds and other water storage reservoirs within the designated future land use categories. We also added a policy to recognize and protect resilience facilities such as infrastructure that's needed to withstand climate impacts. There's also a state level preemption related to fuel terminals. However, this is not expected to affect the town specifically, as these types of facilities are not currently allowed or anticipated within the town. And here we included a quick reference guide to the statutory updates and how they've been addressed throughout the plan. It outlines the key topics, summarizes the relevant changes, and points to where you can find the corresponding updates in the document, which just really meant to help you navigate the document a little bit easier. I also included the revisions following the July 10th Planning Board meeting. So there were a few recommended changes for the future land use, transportation, housing elements, which are listed here. I'd be happy to go back to them, but for right now, I'll just quickly overview why the changes were made. So the first is for Objective Flu 1.1. This language was revised to clarify the intent of the original text. It seemed a little confusing, so we just made those revisions. For policy flu 1.1.4, this policy was part of a greater conversation of the town. No recommended changes were made, but it's part of a greater discussion for the town. And it relates to the existing buildings and whether they should redevelop or be renovated at their original densities. For policy flu 1.1.7, the planning board chair had recommended that this policy be removed. Next, this is a transportation policy 1.1.4. It removes, encourages, and supports as requested. In policy housing 1.5.5, we revise the language to include as applicable. In 1.5.6, there was a request for more flexibility, as well as 1.5.7. And so that brings us to the remaining steps. We're here today for the Town Commission transmittal hearing, October 7th. So once, if you choose to approve these amendments, they will be transmitted to the Florida Commerce for a 60-day agency review period. This allows the state and regional agencies to provide more comments, and we will work with staff if there are any comments to prepare these and return for the adoption hearing. And that concludes our presentation, but we are happy to welcome questions. Thank you.
I do have a quick question before we start. So a lot of my comments are more about the evaluation and appraisal review. The comprehensive plan is the entire package, right? It's those policy things that you
the
went
elements.
through, and then also the evaluation and appraisal review. Okay. Yeah, I guess I had maybe an overriding thing, and then I'd like to, go through each commissioner, but I thought I would, because I feel like this is something that underlies a lot of what was said in this discussion. So I didn't know what this was. I've been involved, in the town since 2019. I had no idea what this comprehensive plan was. So I looked at other towns' comprehensive plan and, obviously read through this document. And so as I tried to investigate what this even was, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm off base here, but it seemed like the legislator implemented this because there were municipalities in the state of Florida that were growing faster than their infrastructure could manage. Population was growing, outgrowing the water capacity, outgrowing the infrastructure capacity, the sewage. Maybe they had septic, and so this whole thing about moving to sewer. Not enough schools, not enough roads. And so it seems like to me, the whole reason why this came about is for municipalities to really think about the growth and plan more thoroughly for population growth. Am I on the right track?
Okay.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Chris Darty with Inspire. So this goes back to roughly the 1970s. Really, 1985 is when the Growth Management Act was enacted, requiring every city and county in the state of Florida to have a comprehensive plan. So every community does it a little bit differently. We do recognize that Highland Beach is effectively built out. I mean, I think we listed 4 or 5 vacant properties. And when we go through our evaluation, we determine how growth can happen in a community. And again, we recognize that the town is, at a point where there really isn't a lot more growth that's going to happen. Now, the statutes do require that you plan for what is referred to as the Bieber medium projection. The challenge with that, so that's the Bureau of Economic and Business Research at the University of Florida, is they don't do projections for towns and cities. They only do them for counties. But we can extract those from the county-wide projections. And in our practice, we've developed a methodology that's professionally accepted and accepted by the state. When we go through that process, we also have to compare that to your future land use map and understand how you actually can achieve these projections. And in this case, we determined that it wasn't possible. It's not going to happen. So you'll see in the data analysis that we said, hey, you know what? You're probably at a point where you can only effectively add maybe 23 more people, something like that. I don't have the number in front of me.
It's exactly.
In the next 20 years. I mean, that's the lowest of the low that I've ever seen. In fact, what we don't really want to show is that your projection is going to go like this. We don't want to show that you're losing population.
Why? I mean, I think that's something that's actually unique to Highland Beach. Like, I don't know. Our concerns here in Highland Beach are traffic is,
Sure.
I mean, if you talk to any resident in Highland Beach, we are all concerned about too much traffic. The environmental concerns, too many people, the impact on the environment. So I guess make it a shorter conversation. I think Highland Beach is very different from what this whole concept was supposed to address. I think me personally, and I don't know how the commissioners feel, I'm okay with no change, and you're projecting no change, and I think that's fine, and I agree with that projection. I personally have no concern over the no change in population. And I guess I would also point out that our, number of persons per household is also much low. That's another factor of, population is the number of persons per household. And we are very low compared to all the other municipalities. We're like at 1.84. And if you look at other municipalities, it's like 2.2 and above. It's a characteristic of Highland Beach. And so I guess I kind of felt like there were a lot of warning signs, a lot of verbiage in this evaluation and appraisal review that could be more tailored towards the town of Highland Beach issues. And so at least a lot of my comments are going to be about removing the concerns about population, because I don't think a stable population or even a reduction in population is an issue and may actually be something we want. I don't know. It is for me, because I think, we have a lot of traffic and just the environmental considerations, the coastal, just the issues with being a coastal community that we are, and the size, that we are. So the theme of my comments are going to be about removing these, like when I read it, and I don't know if a legislator who doesn't know anything about the town of Highland Beach would be like, oh, wow, population is not growing. If anything, it might be going down. And like, that's kind of that's not a bad thing for Highland Beach. And what I didn't get from the review, which I think is more important for Highland Beach, is the mitigation and the resiliency due to climate, hurricanes and all that kind of stuff. So I guess in general, my comment is to remove the comments that are alarming about the level of population, because I don't think they're appropriate, and to maybe highlight a little bit more of the importance of resiliency and the coastal considerations, and even, I think one of our the capital improvements or the capital investments or the infrastructure, I thought that was something that because of our environment, that is much more of a concern for us and traffic even, than what is discussed in the review. So I guess that was like an overriding theme for me, is we're not like the typical municipality in Florida that has the issues of growing and has the issue of being above capacity for the, we're well under capacity for water and sewer and garbage and all that kind of stuff. So it's more about the other characteristics of the town. So anyway, I'll let the other commissioners also provide their comments.
Well, obviously, we have not spoken.
Right.
Chris, I'll be very frank with you. I loved it. I love the presentation. Now, I want to separate my corporate experience, from working here as a commissioner. My corporate experience would say, when growth stops, decay begins. When growth stops, decay begins. And I had to live by that my entire career. After I read the entire report, I really saw the word upgrade in my mind coming up continuously. So I understand what the mayor is saying, but I saw a pristine area where if there wasn't a lot of growth, the upgrade of the existing properties will make it even more valuable. You use medium as far as income levels. I tend to use mean average income more than even median, but I understand from a consulting point of view why I use that. But I felt that the planning board itself in getting this exercise, Evelyn, outstanding job. I thought they did an outstanding job as far as the verbiage, making it clear so we'd be able to look at it and the changes that were made. But I stand by many of the suggestions in there, even though they might be small. They might be small, even the upgrade of a walking path, the trees, the shade. I saw the word safety coming out over in my own mind. I said, this is going to be a safe paradise. It's going to be an opportunity in 3.5 miles for people to enjoy themselves all the way to 2045. And they'll be continually upgrading as we're going through certification and things of that nature. So as a new commissioner, I said, wow, boy, am I happy to be living in this community. And I can see as we leave this to others in the future, they're going to have a great time here. So, and the mayor has more experience than I have, so she's viewing it, but I had to view that from my corporate experience and now as I'm working in the community. And I thank you for the work that you both did. I thought you did a great job.
In reading this, again, I'd like to thank the planning board. Excellent, excellent. Now, in reading this in the resolution, it appeared when I first looked at it, okay, what is this about? It's a story about where we are. But it's not just a nice story that we undertook, it's mandated. I mean, we have to do apparently every 7 years or 10 years, whatever the state says. And that's why we're doing this comprehensive valuation. There are many things that don't apply to us, but I think it's very realistic. We do have a growth potential at this level of height and, whatever our zoning is, unless we drastically change, of 23 people. And to reiterate, where this is a older population, and I think all of that is well said in here, well laid out. I think very good job. And I felt overall it was a compliance with the state when we had to do it, particularly when I saw workforce housing. And while that may be very beneficial for the state, live local, that doesn't apply to us. Not now, and I don't see it in the foreseeable future. But it could. We have a county property here. And we don't know if tomorrow the county may decide, well, I mean, now they're under a decree. But what can happen to that property? So I think that some things were necessary. And I'd like the verbiage as more, not mandatory, but more permissive in setting the narrative, because a number of these things are pretty frightening. The deletion of the classification, that was 1.1.7. That was taken out. That had to do with land use classifications and aging population. That was eliminated. I think that was very important. When they speak it in the transportation section, it addressed buses. I thought, oh my God, on this little 3 miles of heaven, we could possibly have, part of the transportation system. That's frightening now. It's state roads. We may not have any really authority if and when that comes out. But again, it was in the way it was modified by the planning board, I think it was effective. Again, if it's applicable, if we have to do it, this is what we'll do. This is how we handle it. So if it's mandatory, and you have to confirm with me if it is, that we have to do this appraisal review, very well done. And I would, in looking over, I think we're going to go back to it. One of the things that was concerning to me that has arisen in commission discussions over the few years that I've been on the commission is the fact that now if we have a 10-story condominium and there is some circumstance that puts it in jeopardy, there's a hurricane or there's, terrible fire or something like that, that our zoning and planning now do not provide, that we can build as it had been, rather than what the present law is. So that has to be changed. So that's really important.
Well, just to clarify, if there is a catastrophe, right, you can build the way it is. If it's a catastrophe, you can rebuild
But
the way it is.
It is not. What if we have
Elective reconstructing.
selective? I
Right.
mean, we see, not to date in our town, but in condominiums and other places where people have walked away because of the high assessments, because of the restoration that they're mandated to do by state law and municipal law, that not in an emergency. So this addresses it, or at least now, after doing this, I would assume that we're going to be revising the ordinance. How does that?
It's on our strategic plan.
It's all in our.
Zone density is a topic on our strategic plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. And I think that has to be taken care of it with, but other than that, I congratulate you. Thank you very, very much in doing this.
Yeah, I want to congratulate, I think the planning department did a good correction on a lot of the verbiage and sounds neater and more professional. Yeah, I see in our building, we're getting people buying, more younger people are coming in and changing their 2 bedrooms to 3 bedrooms. So I agree. I don't think the population is going up anymore, maybe settling or bringing partial kids are coming down during the season. I don't want to see our community be like, I probably shouldn't say it, but Pompano, which the people are buying condos are 20 stories high, and they're putting 30 something stories in. So I'm against that. My only question is, I see they changed the present footage right away on from 80 to 100. What's the difference between 100-foot right away and then the 50 feet local right of ways? What's the difference? Do you know that?
So our side roads are 50. Bel
50?
Air,
Is that what it is?
everything in Bellito, they're all 50-foot wide.
But
A1A is 100.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question there. Okay.
That's state law. Is it?
That's just the width of the right of way.
Yeah. It changes, it depends on where
Right.
they're at. If they have more land, they'll get it. If they don't.
A1A is, those are generally 100, but local roads are generally 50.
Rather than to repeat what was said, I can say that I agree with Judy's comments for the most part. I've gone over probably the same comments with the town manager. I think the planning board did a great job, their wording. And just a note and the concern, a thing that changed, and the affordable housing kind of thing, probably, in my opinion, doesn't belong there. In the event that Judy said the county changes and wants to build on a problem, well, you know what? That's going to change the number of people that you have for the growth. because there'd be a heck of a lot more people in affordable housing in that area. So if we have to look at what we have now and going forward, it seems to me very unlikely that that would happen. Those are my thoughts.
And I just like a follow-up comment on that. What the planning board, when you say requested more flexibility, that short sentence is done very well. The town recognizes the benefits of affordable workforce housing and may support the implementation of relevant housing programs. So it's very broad, kind of loosey-goosey, you know. And I think we have to acknowledge that because it's state law, right? And that's why it's in there. And many of these sections are because of that. Is that correct?
Okay, so I agree with everything that the planning board suggested, except for one item, and that is the thing about the zoning. So the addition of the FLU 1.14, and we'll open this up for public comments. So we'll, if anyone has any public comments after we've had our discussion. And the reason why I'm suggesting not to take that recommendation, so to strike it from the proposed change, I guess, is what I'm suggesting is, to me, this is on our strategic plan, and like all the other policies are, we'll do this, we'll do all the things that we are supposed to do. And this is one that says the town may work towards. So I feel like this is captured in our strategic plan. I mean, we may do a lot of things. I don't know that we need to capture all the things that we may want to do. So I think it's more effective that we make sure that it's on the strategic plan, which it is. And I don't think that I just don't think it belongs in the comprehensive plan. That's my own personal opinion.
Referring to.
So I am on page 17 of the agenda. I'm sorry, yeah, page 17 of the agenda, where it summarizes all the suggested changes from the planning board. And I really do appreciate the thorough review that the planning board did. I thought everything was very well thought out. And I think they took input, and it's on, a lot of people's minds about zoning density, and it is rightfully so on our strategic plan. It's, I don't remember what priority it is, and I think that's where it belongs. The strategic plan is what we review on an annual basis. Like I said, I didn't even knew this existed. So I don't even know, I feel like, yeah, a lot of us has said, this is to be in compliance with the state and to incorporate, this is more, I almost feel like this is more of a compliance document to make sure it reflects all the most recent statutes and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know that this has really been vetted like it should, like it will be done when we go through our strategic plan.
Mayor, is it possible that Len or Marcia could weigh in on this? I think the point is well taken, but I'm just, from a legal point of view and from a town manager's, I'm just curious how they see this.
You want to take legal or administrative? You could go legal.
From a legal perspective, I don't think we have to include it. But again, it's a permissive, it's a may, and it's something the town has talked about. But that's really a commission discretion, whether you want to include it or not.
I think the interesting part we all brought out with this is when I started here, it took Linelda and I forever to find even a copy of this comprehensive plan. It shows the value. Then we finally got Ingrid on board. She looked at it and said, this is a mess. So this hasn't been a driving document for this community. It really has never. We've probably done this exercise once thoroughly, probably in the early 90s, following that 85 deadline when we were pushed to do it, and it kind of is set. So this is good that we're, bringing it all together, giving it an update. It is, as you've all discussed, it's a compliance document. It really, a lot of these things, just the likeliness of it happening, you know, some of these things that are really scary probably aren't going to happen. But we are required in the preemptions that are out there, we have to put a compliance document together. Should it have some more transitional nature language at the intro to say that Highland Beach is not your typical, this is not, you're going to be your typical comp plan. This is more of like what we have to do because the state said so. Now on the topic that seems to be why it's on the strategic plan, this one conversation is there is a difference of opinion. And there's about 15 tools in the toolbox of the planner's toolbox to achieve some level of where we might compromise, if at all, on some type of density change. There's a whole bunch of ways to get there. There's temporary, mid-range, long-term changes. Those all exist. And I think it's going to take us a long time. I'm impressed how quickly you guys caught on to comp planning, right? The planning board is on board. Staff gets it. So I think we're starting to transition, if you will, and enhance our understanding of the document. And that conversation is going to take a long time. So it's really going to be, and I don't want to like punt it, it's really going to be your decision if this goal or objective shall be included, right? The operative word shall be included. What do you want to do with it? I mean, it's going to take us a while to digest. I mean, it's going to take us, I would say, years, to be honest, to talk about that element. And that comes to some of the other comments. The planning board's concern over it. You had Mr. Donaldson said some comments to it. You guys are clearly communicating, knowing it. And that's kind of why I think Ingrid and I talked with the consultant, said this conversation's happening. And we thought, well, maybe we put it in the compliance document, but it doesn't have to be there. But it kind of shows like, this is kind of like our big issue over this horizon. Everything else, you know, infrastructure, capital. I think some of the stuff on capital improvements a little over the top in here. We'll take care of it. We know what we have to do, but that's the one issue, right? That's really going to take us a long time as a community to figure out how we want to move forward, if at all, you know, so. Really, you guys, if you want to leave it in now, we can get it 7 years from now after you hit it with the strategic plan, or you could put it in here now knowing that it's something that's going to grow over time that we're going to have to address.
What is the, are we being pressured by the state to have it filed by a certain date, or to have it?
Yeah,
enhanced?
yeah, we have
You have
deadlines
a
we have to
deadline.
meet. So this is a compliance activity. You know, this is a pretty streamlined process for, I've been in strategic, done a comprehensive plan at a county level before. It's monstrous document. They need 30 people as a consultant to go through the process. This is pretty quick, pretty easy, more compliance focused than, you know, this dissertation on our future, you know, or guidance documents. I don't know that we really need that because we kind of are built out and know what we want and use that strategic plan. We spend more time on the financial side and the capital planning. That's really our strengths. You know, changes of land use, this probably not going to happen much, but the big conversation is, do we look the same electively as value propositions on the coast change over time, right? So that's a tricky thing to do.
So we're not required to put anything about zoning density in the plan. And my concern is this is a huge, important topic for us, and it really has not been vetted. So to put it in our comprehensive plan at this point in time, I'm not in favor of it, and I want to keep it on the strategic plan. I like our strategic plan. It's nimble. It's driven by us, not by, you know, we're not trying to like force it into this, you know, format. You know, all the other things I feel like are more established things. I didn't really have a problem with them. And I thought that, I thought the planning board did a really nice job of streamline, and a lot of the changes that have been made have been a lot of, I would love to see even more streamlined, but I mean, a lot of it has been to streamline it. I was happy to pleased to see it.
Do we need a motion?
Well, I have more changes, so that was just one. So let me go on with my other changes.
Just my clarification, if we look at the Ingrid's memorandum, where it highlights those specific areas, Which one are you referring to? Because 1.1, is that the section?
It's on page 17, policy
17 of the larger
FLU
document.
1.1.
Yeah,
Four.
Point.
okay.
Page 17
Yeah.
of, oh, because you, yeah, it's
So
page
we're looking at
17
both,
of the
yeah.
agenda.
Yeah,
It's,
okay.
it's in Ingrid's memo explaining all the
Yeah.
background and all that. So I guess my thought here is, I'll go through all my changes, all my suggested changes, and then have open it up for public comment. And then we can wrap it up with any additional discussion and motion. So I guess I'll just continue for the sake of time. Okay, so page 22 of the agenda, there is, and actually, let me just, more page 23. So I noticed that not every section of the review, the evaluation and appraisal review, had future considerations. So like, for example, there were, yeah, so I'm, okay, sorry. Okay, so I'll just, so just so we don't get so confused, page 23, under future considerations, I would like to strike or change the last couple of sentences of future considerations. So it talks about the aging of our buildings and that they may need to be heavily renovated or rebuilt within the planning horizons. And I actually, I think about our building department and how I thought the recertification was really key in keeping our buildings in good condition. I also, so, you know, I'll have all these thoughts going through my mind. I also look at, I was struck by South Palm Beach and how their values declined. Of all the municipalities, they declined. And it's a coastal town with nearly, I think it's 100%, you know, condos. I don't know what all the differences are. And I don't know all the reasons, you know, why, you know, some of those things happen, but I actually think keeping up with our building standards and making sure buildings are in good condition, like that's a key piece of future considerations. And that this sentence about attracting developers and the same services to fewer people, I just don't think that that is correct. I think, I don't know that we even need a future considerations for this, or to me, future considerations regarding the population is, you know, we have issues with traffic and we don't want more population because we don't want more traffic. You know, I think the burden on the environment, on our beaches, you know, those are good reasons not to have that lack of population growth, or a reduction in production in population might be beneficial. I just felt like this paragraph was going in the wrong direction, in my opinion. I think when it comes to the buildings, and I think the building department is key in making sure we're keeping standards. So I don't know. Okay. And then moving on to other considerations, page 25, future considerations, implications could include limits to services and increases to taxes if current services are supported by fewer residents. I thought that was incorrect. I think really it's the property values that is really tied to the level of, at least, you know, right now, it's not the number of residents. We already have a very low number of residents with the 1.84 per household. So I thought that either, I don't know, either we remove that future I don't know that we need future considerations. And I know that there were
Page 10 of.
page 25, page 25 of the agenda or page 4 of the memo.
Okay.
If I may, I think
Yeah.
it's some of the, I think what was addressed as maybe some alarming language
Right,
that's in the future considerations, not
Right.
that
Yes.
it's not a
Right.
correct consideration, but
soften it, I don't know,
it's
or,
not like I would take off like after existing buildings are rebuilt to allow, just take the whole last two sentences off on the under population and remove heavily and conceivably. Those two adjectives kind of add alarmism to it. Like it's gonna be to have heavily renovate. Well, all our buildings are now reconstructed.
right,
They've already done the heavily
right.
renovated. So I don't know if I would go with heavily renovated. I would say renovated or rebuilt within the horizon.
And I'd
You're-
almost
you're
say,
keep- You're keeping the adjective out of it, so it doesn't push
right,
the reader one way or another.
right.
Might help maybe to
And I would even,
down that language that's
and maybe say something about traffic considerations, traffic considerations would support a, I don't know, maintaining the level of population that we have now because, with our main thoroughfare, we can't really handle any more traffic. I don't know,
You know, Marcia, the other thing is these are projections.
right?
And that's all they are. They're projections. And to say that with all the information that they're put forth, to simply say that possibly down the road, we might have a slight decline in population is not going to stop investors coming to Highland Beach. That I can tell you.
I don't know that it's the investor piece to it. It's the value proposition.
Yeah,
At what
absolutely.
Density.
Right.
How does it look? I think is where
Right.
from our fourplexes to our triplexes to our 12-unit condos to our 200-unit. I think it's a little bit different on each
It
of
is.
those.
It is.
And I think it's going to take us a long time to,
Right.
going back to Commissioner Chernowski, in today's society, we're gonna have to learn how to disagree when we have this conversation.
Right.
So that's why it's gonna take us a long way
It
to,
is.
how do we address each of these little pieces, almost by zoning district? What does a difference look like? It could be on a quadplex on a rebuild, it's a rounding, right? Or on a 200-unit, maybe
That's
there's
a
more
big difference.
flexibility and it
Right.
looks more like a planned unit development or a contracted type of change versus this prescribed change and bonus. It's gonna, in time, it's gonna attract money. I think it's stuck south right now. Once the spigots open up again and the South Florida development machine takes its 3.0 or 4.0 version, we don't know what that's gonna look like and what the value, it's good. It's gonna be, I look forward to the conversation, but it's going to be an uncomfortable, long-term conversation, multiple boards, lots of residents, lots of public engagement. Because it's going to be the future of us, right? Like, what do we want it to look like and where and how much? And that part's going to take a while. But back to these, I think if I was to summarize, it's some of the language just kind of is striking a nerve a little bit. And maybe if we soften that in the
Right.
projections in this compliance type and maybe some different transitory language from the data to conclusions, a little softer landing, I think might help. I'm just putting out what I'm hearing.
Yeah, thank you for translating. Yeah, for me, it's for preserving or allowing for increase in value for Highland Beach. If I could sum it up in a nutshell. And I think it's very different for Highland Beach than it is for a different municipality where growth is important, because of our characteristics. Value takes on a different, characteristic to it. I'm not sure how else to say it. So, and like on page 27, same, definitely remove like that last sentence where, so it's page 27 of the agenda, page 6 of the memo. I'm not sure which page number everybody's following, but where it says, disincentivize investment in the redevelopment. I don't agree with that. So yeah, if you could maybe read through the document And so one paragraph in particular that I really agreed with, page 9, page 30 of the, page 9 of the memo, page 30 of the agenda, where it talks about Highland Beach contains, almost 41 acres of land designated as coastal high hazard areas. And, just the attention to, our coastal, the special circumstances of our coastal area. And, and that does conflict with a lot of things too. There's a lot of conflicting comments, I felt like. And then the other one that page 41, page 20 of the, so page 41 of the agenda, page 20 of the memo, the town is likely to face population plateau and perhaps decline, the repercussions of which the town should consider with priority. Yeah, I don't think the population is our priority. I think there's other issues that are much more of a higher priority, the building codes, the coastal resilience, the impact to the beaches, the flooding, and all those things that were mentioned in other areas. I think that pretty much covers all of my comments. I wanted to open it up for, if we're ready, if we could open it up for public comments. So, okay, go ahead.
Evelyn David, 4740 South Ocean Boulevard. The planning board was not concerned with the level of population. We were thinking more in terms of number of units. So it was housing more than population, because we have a lot of units that only have one person living in them. And even if nobody lives in them, it still is going to have the same value. One of the levels of concern was a Surfside situation, where if a building collapses for whatever reason, we want to be able to have the unit owners keep the value. Because if you can't have a developer come in and replace on the same footprint, you're destroying the value of anybody who's living in that, owns in that building, because it's then gone. Because if they can only build 4 stories, that's a problem if you've got a 10-story building. It was also, part of it was, we want to encourage updating and of fourplexes, for example. If you want to update a fourplex now, you can't really do it. You can't raise the level of it, because you wouldn't be able to put 4 back. It would only be able to be 1, maybe 2. And that's discouraging people from going with protection, really, for protection against hurricanes, protection against water levels rising. And we want to protect the nature of this town. While our population is pretty homogeneous, we have different levels of housing. We have massive single-family homes. We have townhouses. We have condos. And it makes for this town to be very unique in that there's, in essence, something for everyone within the nature of the town. And we'd like to keep it that way. We don't want to put it so that if you want to replace a fourplex, that you can't put back 4 units, but that are better than what is there now, as opposed to making it a single-family home, which then has a more limited appeal to bringing people into the town. We're not looking to increase the level of people. That was, to be fair, that was never a consideration one way or another. We're not worried about it going down. We're not worried about population going up. It was more to preserve the nature of the town and against a real catastrophe, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Rick Greenwald, Tranquility Drive. When I first saw this topic come up on the agendas a while ago, my first thought was this was just some, one of these pro forma state mandated compliance things, and that it wasn't going to be worth wasting a whole lot of time and effort figuring this out. Then I started to read it, and it's been pointed out, I said, well, half of this doesn't even apply to us. We're a town on the beach only, and we're built out, and there's no real room for much further growth, and a lot of this is irrelevant. Then I read it a little further, and then I said, hey, some of this is actually a little bit scary. I'm not so sure about some of this. And then my eyes started to glaze over, and that was it for me with this stuff. So then I became very glad that you guys took control and had Inspire come in, and the people here, Ingrid obviously did a lot of work, and Marshall and Len, and I'm sure Jeff and maybe Pat and some of the other folks. And then the planning board obviously put huge amount of time and effort into this and a lot of thought. And also to thank people like Barry Donaldson, who went to the considerable effort to really obviously pour through the document in great detail and make a list of suggestions for further consideration. And I won't opine on any of the specific suggestions because I don't really have an opinion on it. But I did want to thank everybody again. I'm kind of a process guy, and I think the process is good. I mean, you enlisted people that know something about it and are experts in the field. Hopefully they went and compared us to other like and similar towns. And I think the process getting to here is fair, and whatever we end up with, the only thing I would like to see, and it's been alluded to, I'm sure you'll do it, is to make sure that we retain flexibility so that as we want to improve the town, change densities, maybe change height requirements, whatever zoning changes after appropriate study seem appropriate, that we have the flexibility within this document to be able to do whatever is necessary to ensure the preservation and growth in, if not in population, in the quality and style of life and everything else that we've come to appreciate in the town. So thank everybody for the work that they've put in on this project so far.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, I agree with those that.
Okay, thank you.
And certainly if this is a document that new residents, developers, appraisers, evaluators are going to look at, I think it would be necessary really for us to go through each paragraph. Some is, I like very much how you described it. And I'd like to know, Marshall, perhaps you could guide us in this. Since we cannot meet, individually, or two or three of us, how are we going to digest this?
So we've got some time still, which is good. So we can make some, I don't want to say quicker in-meeting changes that were suggested. We can make some of those, send it on to the state. They'll review it, get it back. And that'll give us time also to continue to dig in and make other minor changes. Holistic changes and total change of all the goals and objectives, we would have to start over. But the narrative, the story that's being told in the front end of the document, we have time to massage that a bit before it becomes, if you will, bound and distributed, right? So the state's going to look at the meat and potatoes. The state's looking for preemptions, right? State loves those things. What did we miss? What didn't we hit? They're not really reading the front. They're going to skim the front end And then they're going to look to make sure we're hitting goals, objectives. I mean, they'll look at some of the analysis too, to make sure we did it right and make sure zoning's counted for. But we have opportunities to further refine language, if so choosing.
You know, Marshall, I really believe comprehensive plans bring the best out. I've been through a number of them, and I think that just the dialogue that's going on today brings out the best. So if someone would say to me, what's the benefit of a comprehensive plan? It's discussions of this nature.
True.
That is the benefit. That is the true benefit. So I think you've done their job by bringing this to our attention, the planning board, and I think it brings us all with some good thought processes are in effect.
I absolutely agree. So are you saying only the policies get forward and not the review?
No, the whole thing.
This whole thing does. I'm just saying you have times to massage language a little bit more. If you wanted to make some quicker changes to keep the process moving, you can then go back and look at how you may want to rewrite certain language, and we'll have time to make those minor adjustments because they are minor in nature, what I would think, moving forward. And then we can have, when we have another public hearing again, we'll have a clean version because this is hard to read for the layperson and the public. We need to clean it up and get rid of the red lines and double strikes, then distribute it to the public for that second public hearing. So it's one clean document. But we can make changes in there.
So are you saying to have another first reading with a clean document?
You could.
Or are
do
you
that.
saying?
Slows the process down.
Okay.
I
Okay.
got you, Ingrid. So, I would say make a couple of changes and then move it on with the state. And then when it comes back, we can make another set of changes because we're required to have yet another public hearing. It's like reading an ordinance, like we'll do a first read and ask Len to make 3 or 4 or Ingrid to make 3 or 4, 5, 6 changes. And then the second read, it comes back with those changes. So we have time in between because it will be public noticed again for the second reading.
Okay,
And
so-
the state has it because the state could ask for changes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm in favor of that.
that's the
Okay.
process. It goes up to the state. The state gives their ORC report, which their objections, they give recommendations, they give comments, comes back.
We can tweak.
Objections you have to address, but the others you don't necessarily have to address. And I think what Marcia was saying is true. The introduction is really more for the town's own benefit. They're making sure all your elements are there, all your preemptions are covered, all your statutory requirements are satisfied. So that can be tweaked before adoption.
I mean, me personally, I'm okay with that because really my only issues were in the future considerations.
Right.
The rest of the report I thought was very factual and correct and all that kind of stuff. So for me, I guess the motion I would make maybe, if I can say that, is to adopt all the changes, including the planning board changes, except for the
1.1.
1.4, 1.1.4, and that staff takes in the our comments about future considerations and
Okay.
scale them back a little bit or remove them as necessary.
Len and I will
And
take
then-
copious notes as Ingrid is. always.
And I'll second that recommendation.
Yeah, but
So roll call?
Mayor-
Vice Mayor.
Vice Mayor,
second.
second.
Madam Mayor, point of clarification, this is not to adopt, this is to transmit.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I just want to,
Okay.
just as
Yes.
part of your motion, we just want to.
I move to transmit.
Taken.
you're adopting our
Perfect.
first reading, but you're transmitting, correct?
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stern,
Yes.
Commissioner Chesnowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Goldberg,
Yes.
and Commissioner Peters.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for everyone's very
Yeah.
thoughtful input. And I think it highlights zone density. I mean, maybe that's something we
Might have to move it up.
move it up
to our
in
strategic
priority.
Here in the next.
Because I think it is obviously a very important topic and it's going to take a long time. So thank you to everyone. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Inspire, for all your work. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And to all of Highland Beach staff. Consent agenda.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Moving on to consent agenda. Any discussion or anything about the consent agenda? If not, could we have a motion to approve
Yes.
the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Moving on to unfinished business, Building Department Recertification Program update.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor,
Good.
Commission. Jeff Remus, Building Official, Town of Highland Beach, with an update. Katarina's off today for her birthday. So we'll start the normal thing that I do here. Total number of buildings, it has been 53 for the last many years. It is now 54 because a building that we didn't even catch or was contacted by their insurance company and said, hey, you need to do the milestone. We thought it was a 3-unit, like 2 and a 1, and ends up being, it was a 4-unit, and we didn't know that. So we had to add another one to it. So they're just beginning the process. Okay. The recertifications that have been completed, 25 buildings. That's actually, it says a lot for the community. It's 25 buildings that are actually complete and certified and have their little, I guess you'd call it certificate diploma on there. In progress, we're not reviewing anything because there's nothing to look at. Things that were submitted, nothing. We have one building that's under permit for electrical, and we're trying to close out a few more. And ultimately, we have 23 buildings that are under restoration as we speak. And I will tell you, because it is relevant to the previous conversation, it's been challenging with a lot of it because of a lot of the buildings. They may have taken an old bathroom and tried to years ago, decades ago, convert it into a fire pump room. And now that fire pump room needs to be replaced and we can't legally do it, or it's in a flood zone. So it's been challenging. So between the fire department and myself, we've been working with them and trying our best, but we just can never gain 100% compliance because these buildings are just so old and so tightly put together and things are added on that we just don't have them. So, but it says a lot for the community that they're continuing to move forward and put money and invest. And like I said, we do have 23 buildings that are currently still actively undergoing restoration, which again does include electrical and structural. It is both. We just sent out a notification letter to one building that is going to be due with the new due date because they're newer. That's Toscana West, 3720. And we still have 3 buildings that aren't even due yet because they're just newer. So we're in really good shape overall.
Any questions? Anything? Well, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
Yep. Moving on to the Florida Department of Transportation, RRR project update.
It's proceeding, albeit slowly. They're still working on grading out the right of ways, doing driveway finishes. This rain lately slowed them down. Didn't slow them down before, but it's slowing them down now. Again, they're still targeting a mid to late November completion date. And with that, our project tied to sanitary sewer, I think, is tied to those completion dates. So our sanitary sewer lining project. So we're pushing them along. I've had some brief conversations because calls have reached. I was joking. I called her Aunt Peggy, but Peggy Gossett-Simon, she's getting those calls. So she's going to have a talk with Mr. Braun to make sure their commitments to the town are honored, because their language is changing with FDOT, that we didn't say we would do things about drainage. Oh yeah, you did. So we just want to make sure, and maybe a little pressure from the top will pick up the pace and improve the final stretch of the project.
Marshall, I see they're putting sod down right now. When is the next layer that they're talking about going down? That's been the big question.
The very end of the project,
the end
the
of the
final wear course down, and you'll see all the lips disappear. They're also doing the sidewalk work. I still believe they should do the entire project. I think Peggy will have that conversation. So, they're working on, but the lift is the last. When you see them start doing the final paving, they're working their way out of town, which will be good. So again, it's still that mid-November target.
So it'll be right during season when that final will be right.
We'll be done before they get here for the heavy part of the season. Hopefully, if you think like Mingle Jingles, like our traditional, like everybody's here, it should be done by then. Yeah.
Has there been a slowdown in the work?
A little bit. The rain slows things down a little bit. But no, I mean, like, most contractors at the end of the project, if they're behind, they bring all their other crews from other projects. This firm doesn't have other crews. It's a small operation. So they're deploying everything they can. They finally started getting subcontractors to help with the brick paver driveways, driveway reconstructs. That's helping them move along. And they're just finishing out the excavations. So hopefully things will get better, but they keep on telling us to be patient. So hopefully we should, I think over the next 2 weeks, we'll see some significant move towards, it looks like they're ready to do the final pave, but I think they'll get out of town a little bit more, finish it up in Delray and then pave. That's what they're telling us. So.
Okay, thank you for the update. No new business. Town Commissioner comments. Commissioner Szymanski. Any comment?
I think our comments have been very, very clear.
No comments today.
Yeah, no comments from me either.
No, they said FDOT they certainly didn't show preferential treatment. They took the hedges out in front of my condo, which was a question. Yeah.
The debate over your shrubs was settled finally.
No other comments. Thank you.
None from me. Town Attorney,
No, ma'am, thank you.
Town Manager.
Just briefly, I'll send some stuff to you guys over, the next week or two. Some other stuff we'll talk about over the next week as well. But one of the interesting things being proposed by staff is we're going into another big re-roofing project. We used to use these S-tiles. There's a request to consider changing that look. The fire station and the fire annex will both be flat roof buildings, so they're not going to really have the roof elements. But we're going to do two of the biggest buildings next, and the concept being proposed, and we'll get prices to give you those options. From what we budgeted, we could put metal roof on. And it would be like a brown or bronze metal roof, so it's not going to be white or any silver, but like a bronze, more traditional white and bronze look. We had some, Sergio did it in AI. I think it looks good. We're going to get prices for 3 options, the S tiles to keep it the same look, but we repainted, kind of moving away from it. The book tile, which is that flat tile, and then the metal roof. Metal roof, Jeff, you said what, 50, 60 years would be like the amount of life on those. So it's something that we won't have to do every 15 to 20. It'd be a 50-year, and it's within budget. So we may want to consider that. So we'll share some photos just to get if you're comfortable with it and what it looks like, to go with a metal roof, because it's library and then it's public works. So we're going to do in the next 2 years. So like most of the campus will be done. We could tweak out the fire station for next to nothing to take the S-tile little highlights and make it the metal brown roof. So it'll transition the look. This building would be the last, of course, but just something to think about. That's all.
Great. Okay, moving on to announcements. We have a few board vacancies, one on the Code Enforcement Board and one for Natural Resources Preservation Advisory Board. October 9th at 9:30 is the next Planning Board regular meeting. Town Hall is closed in observance of Columbus Day on October 13th. October 14th at 1 p.m. is the special magistrate hearing. October 23rd at 10 a.m. is the Board of Adjustment and of Appeals. And also on October 23rd, starting at 5, is the Homecoming Food Truck event, which will be fun. I hope everyone can join us for that. And then November 4th is our next, at 1:30 is our next Town Commission meeting. There are no board action reports. And with that, I think we can adjourn at 3:33. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.